This program is for discussion purpose only. Business Plus TV or any of our anchor does not bear any responsibility or liability towards the content.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाज़रीन, कराची मरकज़ से मैं हूँ आपका मेज़बान खलील अहमद। आप देख रहे हैं प्रोग्राम आप और कारोबार। अपने कारोबार को जब हम शुरू करते हैं तो ज़ाहिर है दो चार चीज़ें तो देखनी पड़ती हैं। एक तो ये कि जो प्रोडक्ट हम बनाएंगे वो वाकई मार्केट में बिकेगी या नहीं। फिर दूसरा है कि मौक़े कितने हैं। समटाइम्स ऐसा भी होता है कि लोग कहते हैं कि जी आप ये जो प्रोडक्ट बना रहे हैं ये बिकेगी नहीं, इसलिए कि इस मार्केट में कोई पोटेंशियल नहीं है। अब उस पोटेंशियल को क्रिएट करना भी एक आर्ट होता है। क्या कभी पाकिस्तान में आज से 20 साल पहले की बात करें कोई ये सोच सकता था कि पानी भी पैसों में बिकेगा? आज पाकिस्तान में पानी पैसों में बिकता है। अगर हम मिनरल वाटर की बात करें तो मिनरल वाटर का कोई कॉन्सेप्ट एज सच देखें, अगर 20-25 साल पहले की बात कर लें, 15 साल पहले की बात कर लें, एज सच कॉमन नहीं था और आज पानी बिक रहा है। और बेसिकली ये तो शायद मार्केटिंग स्ट्रेटजी है कि आप उस नीड को एक्चुअली क्रिएट करते हैं और उस नीड को क्रिएट करने के बाद अपनी प्रोडक्ट को बेचते हैं। फिर मौक़े के हवाले से हम बात करें तो मौक़े तो बहुत ज़्यादा, अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ बहुत ज़्यादा हैं। अब उसके लिए आपका बेंट ऑफ माइंड ऐसा होना चाहिए कि आप देखें कि ये कारोबार जो आप शुरू करने जा रहे हैं बेसिकली इसमें आप कामयाब होंगे भी कि नहीं, और फिर आपकी सोच भी ऐसी होनी चाहिए कि आप ये जहन में लाजमी रखें कि जी इस काम को मैंने कंसिस्टेंसी के साथ करना है और इंशाल्लाह इसमें कामयाब भी होना है। पाकिस्तान में जब हम बात करते हैं तो बहुत सारे मौक़े हैं। पाकिस्तान की आबादी 200 मिलियन की आबादी में अगर हम देखें तो हमारा जो पॉपुलेशन का ग्रोथ रेट है वो तकरीबन 3% के करीब है। हमारी जीडीपी की ग्रोथ अगर 4.2% या इस माली साल की हम जब बात करें 4.7% है तो कंपैरेटिवली तो बहुत कम है, क्योंकि अगर आबादी इतनी तेज़ी से बढ़ रही है और इकनॉमिक ग्रोथ नहीं तो ज़ाहिर मसाइल का सामना लाजमी करना पड़ेगा सबको इन द डेज टू कम। अब इन तमाम मसाइल के लिए क्या हमने कभी अपने मौक़े को, अपनी अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ को, जो पोटेंशियल है हमारी, उसको डिस्कवर किया है, उस पर हमने कोई काम किया है या नहीं? आज के प्रोग्राम में हम ये डिस्कस करेंगे कि मौक़े तो मिलते हैं लेकिन मौक़े और जो पोटेंशियल है उसको हासिल करने के लिए क्या इक़दाम होने चाहिए, कौन सी ऐसी प्लानिंग बेहतर तरीके से हम करके उन मौक़े को, उन पोटेंशियल को हासिल कर सकते हैं। इसी वाले से आज हमें इस रिव्यू में ज्वाइन किया है ग्रेगरी जियानोकोवो। आप प्रेसिडेंट ऑपरेशन हैं tele.net और डायरेक्टर हैं बिजनेस ऑपरेशंस के बिजनेस डेवलपमेंट के। ग्रेगरी, वेलकम टू द शो।
Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor.
You're welcome. Honor for us as well. Would you start by telling that how opportunities could be or how potential could be used, looking at Pakistan scenario where we find around 200 million total population, and by and large if we calculate, we come to know that around 110 million youngsters below the age of 35 years. This is a big actually opportunity which must be looked at. What should be done to encash this opportunity?
Well, I was surprised personally at the population of Karachi and Pakistan in general, because as Americans we don't know much about the country of Pakistan. I'm very impressed with all the activity that's going on, and any time that you're looking for opportunity, I imagine the person's also looking to make money from the opportunities they see. But the first thing that I've always felt was important was to figure out a way to create value for someone else. And once you can create value, that opens up the opportunity. In Pakistan, with 23 million people in one city, and all this activity and growth, there's opportunity everywhere.
The opportunities, of course, must be in every part of the world, whether we talk about the developed countries or developing countries. We talk about a continent where there's so much economic activity, or we may talk about the continent where there is potentially no activity. So opportunities must be there in every part of the world. But what about the vision of the leaders? What about the vision of the head of the organization? What should he actually do, or how he should take his team to get the benefit from the opportunities?
Well, the leadership always comes from the top, of course, and I think that could be said of any developing country as well as any business or even a family. I think that small businesses should be encouraged. I don't know really the small business climate in Pakistan, but it should be encouraged, because that's where the growth is going to come from. And when the people can experience growth and benefit from it, they'll be self-sufficient and not looking for handouts. We just saw in the news the other day, I think it was Switzerland or something, was talking about giving everyone a minimum wage, everybody, even if you didn't work. And that's, I think, personally a recipe for disaster. There are opportunities everywhere, but many people, and I've traveled and lived in different countries, they look at the United States as the American dream, and I want to go to the United States, I'm going to really make it big. It's very difficult to do something in the United States because it's had such a great history of inventing things and making things and service economy. The real opportunities around the world are in developing countries. I'm familiar with Guatemala as one country, and Pakistan reminds me so much of Guatemala. Lots of activity, lots of people. There's money to be spent, and people are looking for good services, and they're looking to spend their money.
You talked about Switzerland. So Switzerland's recent discussion about the minimum amount to be given to every individual is concerned. There, the discussion is that since there are not more opportunities for the employment, since major portion of the work is being handled by the machines, the robots, so since there are not much opportunities for the employment, so what should the individuals do? In that case, how the potential or the opportunities could actually be looked at?
Well, I don't think that's true, that there's no opportunity there. And it might be true that you have to work a little harder in some areas. And they have an opportunity to move somewhere else if they didn't want to, if they couldn't find anything to do. But I was just in Singapore, and Singapore is a small country in a small area without any resources. In fact, they even have to import their drinking water. So Switzerland's much further ahead than, let's say, Singapore was. And yet it's a hub of activity. People from around the world are going to Singapore to take advantage of all the opportunities. I think if you and I went to Switzerland for a week, we'd come up with 10 great ideas on how to start a new business or how to take advantage of opportunities. But when the government decides or even thinks they might start giving away free money, it's human nature to just sit back and relax and not think all the time and not try to push ahead. And that, I think, would be dangerous.
Youngsters want to make quick bucks. They want to become rich overnight. In Pakistan, we have around 110 million youngsters below the age of 35, and major portion of them are those who have master degree or the graduation, which we call 14 years of education. Okay. So like, what is your suggestion to these youngsters, that what should they do? By and large, what I see is that once they get the degree, they want to become the CEO on the very first day in the organization, and they behave in such a way that as if they know everything. What is your suggestion? What should they actually do? Should they just look at this concept that we should be there just to make quick bucks, quick money?
I've spoken to a few people since I've been here only a few days, and it seems that the young people tell me the parents are pushing them to get a degree, because once you get your degree, then you can go do what you want to do. But universities are turning out people that are trained in a certain way to do a certain thing, and the industry doesn't need all of these MBAs and certified this and psychology that and masters and MBA. There's not necessarily enough work in that particular field. I think what universities should do, and there's a big push in Silicon Valley, to actually pay students not to go to college. Here's $100,000 to start a business, don't go to university. Now that sounds crazy, but really when you think about it, if you went and got all that education and couldn't get a job in your field, not only have you spent all that money and time,
it would be disaster.
You feel frustrated. It's hard to find a person who's trained to be a lawyer and ask him to do something else. That doesn't mean he shouldn't have gone through law school, but your mind has to be open to new opportunities. There have been stories, and I was reading about the 10 top richest families in Pakistan here, and they didn't start with anything free when they started. In the United States, I know the man that was involved with the largest waste removal, garbage removal. Now, if you graduate as a doctor, you're not going to probably think, I'm going to start a trash company, a garbage company. But there's a lot of money to be made in that opportunity. There's a lot of money to be made in delivering food and delivery services here in Pakistan. There's a lot of money to be made in many different fields that are not going to line up necessarily with what you studied. You studied to be a dentist. You don't think, well, your mother's not going to tell you, why don't you start a garbage company? But maybe you're going to think with some friends, let's start a food delivery company. Let's start something that is going to create value for someone else. And when you create value, no matter what your education, you're going to find success.
Of course, creating value matters. And in Pakistan, when we look at the fast food sector, Pakistan is one of the top 20 chicken consumers in the world. And when I just look at the amount of money being spent by the families on the food, here in Pakistan, by and large, the opportunities and actually to go and have kind of entertainment opportunities are very few as such. So what the families actually do, that in order to have better environment or to have good time, they go out for dinner or lunch. In Pakistan, even today, when I look at the amount being spent, around 80% of the total amount being spent by the families for outside dinner or lunch is in the traditional restaurants. Fast food restaurants are catching up, but the growth is not as much as it should have been. So what comes here? Is it the tradition? Is it the mindset? Is it the purchasing power? Is it the age factor? What should we consider first, that why there's not much growth in the fast food sector as compared to the countries such as US or other parts?
Well, I see the same thing in Central America, and when I was in Singapore, I heard the same thing, that everybody likes to go out to eat. Some of them think that it's less expensive to go out to eat. I'm not sure that's true, but that's what they think. But it is true that the younger families coming up, and I'm imagining you're speaking about younger families, the younger families coming up, they just feel they deserve something, and they want to have fun with their children. Maybe they didn't have as much, I know in Central America, they didn't have a fun time growing up, and now they want to give that to their children. But they're, I think, as a parent-aged person, that they're making a mistake in thinking that it's such a great family time to go and spend all the money you make all day just to have lunch with your family. Or sometimes in Central America, they'll spend 3 days of working for one meal with their family. I think probably a lot of it has to do with training in nutrition. I was just talking to a nutritionist this morning, actually. She has a PhD in nutrition. And she was lamenting the fact that in Pakistan, more and more families, she lives here, more and more families are just running to the fast food all the time, looking for the quick and easy thing, instant breakfast, instant lunch, instant supper, quick fast food. And that's bad health and nutrition, and then the children are learning that, and they don't think it's bad or anything. I would not be in favor of restricting any sort of fast food thing. As Americans, I think generally, we believe in open market economy. If it's a bad idea, the idea will fail. But sometimes personal responsibility is thrown to the side, and people don't think about tomorrow, they're thinking about lunch.
Right. Entrepreneurship is catching up in some countries, and India is one of the cases where there's a large number of individuals, the youngsters, they like to have their own businesses, and the government supports also. What do you think is the value in entrepreneurship? What is the benefit of the entrepreneurship for any economy, and what government of any country should actually do to support youngsters, so that if suppose after getting degree they're not able to find the job they were looking forward to, they may start their own business?
My opinion is that entrepreneurship should be taught in schools as young as 9th or 10th grade. Get people started early to thinking about what does it take to start a business. How to even manage your money is part of learning how to start a business. I know I can speak for the United States that we have people graduating and going on to college. I never had one course on how to manage their money. They don't understand credit cards or interest rates. They don't understand that $0 down when you buy a car still means you have to pay the car off. And there's a misconception of finances. So finances should be taught in high school, and then entrepreneurship should be taught as well. I think entrepreneurship should be a college course. Why can't you graduate with a degree in entrepreneurship? How to recognize opportunity, how to build a business, how to manage people. A lot of this isn't being taught, or it's being taught in a silo. You can graduate with a degree in maybe human relations or resource development. You can graduate to be a lawyer. You can graduate to be an accountant. An entrepreneur class would teach you a little bit of everything. What's the psychology of dealing with employees? How do you select a partner? How do you make a partnership agreement? How do you account for the finances? And if entrepreneurship was taught, I think that really means that the government is behind it because the curriculum is in the school. And I think the role of government is not to do the work for an entrepreneur, but to make it easy. Like registering a company should be easy. I understand in Pakistan now it's pretty easy to register a company, so that's good. But the government should make it easy for the resources to be brought together. So if I want to get a loan, or I want to find out about a sanitary certificate for a restaurant, I shouldn't have to run all over and wait in line all over town. In some countries, they've made a coordinated effort to have all the government permits in one building. So you can go to one building, go to one window, and find out, I want to start a restaurant, what do I need to do, where do I need to go, how much does it cost, corruption-free, straight.
So do you think that ease of doing business is one thing, and which really matters in terms of growth in the entrepreneurial activities in any country.
It really does. If you recognize an opportunity, and even if you have money to start it, but then the government frustrates you by waiting 2 weeks for your certificate, and then you don't know who to talk to about a restaurant license, and they get conflict information. I don't know if this is true in Pakistan, but in Guatemala, you have to pay somebody to find the real information, or they lose your papers until you give them $100 and they find your papers. That makes it very difficult. And so the leadership has to come from the top down, that we are a nation of vibrant people who want to start businesses, who want to serve each other, we want to create value, and really we want to make Pakistan a country that the whole world is envious of. People should want to come to Pakistan because they recognize how wonderful it is here and how many opportunities there are.
There are plenty of opportunities, and youngsters like to start their own businesses also, and government is also doing certain things which might help in the days to come. But what I see is that the entrepreneurs, they start their businesses, and the most difficult part is how to get business, and for that actually business development is the area where they need to look at, and this is something which is very difficult. Of course, once they start the business, they invest their money, whether it is their own or if they get financing from any financial institution.
Sure.
The most difficult part is that, okay, we've started it, we hired the people, we made the feasibility, but now the problem is that around 6-8 months have passed, and even today we have not been able to get business. So business development is something which plays a crucial role. What is your take on it?
Well, you're exactly right, and this entrepreneurship that I'm inventing, course for universities I'm talking about, it would teach that. Because it doesn't do you any good to have the most amazing product and sit at home and wonder why nobody's calling you. You could put a gold bar in a wooden box, and if you couldn't explain people what it is, it would just sit there. So I think it's very important to teach advertising, marketing, business development, how to create strategic alliances. There are many businesses that could benefit by hooking up with some other business. When people developed debit cards and gift cards in the United States, 15 years ago there wasn't any gift card business. And now when you go there, everybody knows about gift cards. They're sold in every store. And what happened was the guy that invented the gift card made a deal with a grocery store, the largest in the country. And the grocery store said, we'll put up some money to help you get started with it, and we'll sell the gift cards in our store. And so he had a gift card business that he could have probably said to himself, and maybe his friend and co-founder, we're going to build this ourselves. We don't want to share it with the grocery store. But by making a strategic alliance and sharing some of the pie with them, he was able to get instant distribution to 5,000 stores and immediately became a big business in 3 years. And I think that's part of the problem with some entrepreneurs is they think it's my idea, I'm going to do it, me and my friend, we're going to do it, and we don't want to share it with anybody because the pie becomes too small. But I would much rather have 15% of a big pie than 100% of a little muffin. And I think that's the muffin mentality that some entrepreneurs have, that they want to do it by themselves. And there's no teaching on how to recognize a strategic partnership.
But would it be right to have more people? Why? Because if you as an individual, you want to start your business and you have your own way of working and you want to implement something which you have, if you want to take a decision as an individual, wouldn't it be much easier for you to take the decision, get it implemented, as compared to having the people around you who might not agree with you and the things may go awry?
Well, I think you're right, that's a concern. But we were just saying that what if a guy has a great idea and he's making all the decisions and he's making all the decisions and he's deciding what to do, and then he has no customers. So he may have decided what to do, but he's decided not to have any customers either. So if that comes and you're starting a business and you see it's a little bit soft, you have to recognize the business strategy as you move along. So if you're one day in business, you can't expect a lot of sales. But after 3 months, you should have some targets laid out so you can tell whether or not you're making the progress you thought you were going to make. Some companies, if you're developing software, it might be 6 months until the product's even ready. Or if you're developing food to sell, you need to have sales that week. So recognizing what your goals are and your key performance indicators, if you're meeting them, makes a big difference. But there are many, we call it headstrong. They're strong-willed. I want to do this myself. I want to make all the decisions. Well, then you better be making a very good decision on business development, sales and marketing.
And sir, we'll continue with this. Well, नाज़रीन, हम बात करें कि मौक़े पोटेंशियल आपको जो नज़र आती है उसको हासिल करने के लिए आपको कौन से ऐसे इकदाम करनी चाहिए जिसके ज़रिए आप कामयाब हो सकते हैं? वक्त ब्रेक का साथ रहिएगा। वेलकम बैक नाज़रीन। जब हम मौक़े की बात करते हैं, बेहतरी की बात करते हैं, तो ई गवर्नमेंट एक चीज़ है जिसके हवाले से हम अक्सर बात करते हैं। हम कहते हैं कि जी ई गवर्नमेंट के ज़रिए हम ट्रांसपेरेंसी ला सकते हैं, करप्शन को ख़त्म कर सकते हैं, और ई गवर्नमेंट के ज़रिए हम देख रहे हैं कि मुख्तलिफ़ ममालिक में बेहतरी आ रही है। वहाँ पे मईशत में भी बेहतरी आती है, जो इकनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज़ होती हैं उसमें भी बेहतरी आती है, और ऑफकोर्स ट्रांसपेरेंसी के ज़रिए फिर जो प्रोजेक्ट्स लॉन्च किए जाते हैं, जो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन की जाती है, जिन चीज़ों पर भी अमल दरामद होना चाहिए वो बड़ी तेज़ी से होता है। डू यू थिंक एक्चुअली दैट e-government is the only solution for the entire world to have transparency, to have better growth, to have this, you know, when we look at the poor and rich gap, in order to bridge that one, e-government can play a greater role?
Well, what we call e-government is putting all the government services online or digital. That certainly provides much more efficiencies. In some ways, it cuts down corruption and fraud from even the citizens. When you get a driver's license or a citizen card, in the old days in Central America, it was just a piece of paper, and people made fake ones all the time. Now, it's digitized with a hologram and a chip and everything. You can't, in one central database. I don't know how it is here, but if the government put their effort into what some countries you would say were developing, like small countries like Estonia, Macedonia, small countries with no infrastructure. You go there now, 100% of all the services are online, including voting. You can vote with your mobile phone when it's time to vote for the president. So renewing your driver's license, applying for a restaurant certificate, trying to open a business, everything's online. In some cases, I think the government themselves are afraid of it because they might be trying to protect jobs. But really, e-government makes everybody's job much easier, and you don't have to shuffle all this paper and make mistakes. But e-government is definitely the way, it's going to be the way of the future, whether each country decides to do it today or 20 years from now. Everything has to be going online.
There are always pros and cons of everything. There are advantages and disadvantages. So are there any disadvantages of e-government also? When we look at Switzerland, recent case, people do say that because of the automation, because of the technology, job opportunities are lesser and lesser with every passing year. It may or may not be true, and that's why people were demanding that there should be minimum amount which should be given to every individual, whether the person works or not. So are there any disadvantages? Number one thing. Secondly, is it very expensive? Recently, Pakistan's federal budget was announced, and the total allocation for the public sector development programs, which actually is initiated by the federal government, and overall budget is around 1.6 trillion rupees. This is the amount, quite big amount in terms of rupees, which actually is for the betterment, for the development. So e-government and the automation and this online service, whether it's government or private, is it expensive commodity because of which people don't like to go for it, or it is something which pays in the long run?
Well, it definitely pays in the long run. I think one of the reluctance is that nobody understands it. I should say the leaders in government offices don't understand it, and if it's not something they're familiar with, they're a little bit scared of it, or they'll think of some reason not to do it. So the danger is, or the cons are usually in the implementation of it. So if you tried to make everything in the whole country electronic in 1 year, you're going to fail. But if you decided to take, I don't know, driver's licenses, birth certificates, one by one, every 6 months, start a different part of the government, the early successes and the early mistakes, the successes can be replicated and mistakes can be avoided. There's no doubt it'll be a little bit of a stumbling block to do something so important on a quick schedule. But there's companies around the world that specialize in this. If I was in charge, I'd go to Estonia, Macedonia, I'd make a little tour in Singapore and find out how did you do it, what were the problems you had, and learn from their mistakes. There's no sense making the same mistakes again, and find out what it should cost. Because some of these large consulting companies will give you a number that might not really be the right number. I think the key would be to do it in phases. Maybe have a survey like what's the worst problem here? In Central America, the problem was to get your identity card, you had to sleep overnight. To get your driver's license, you had to sleep overnight the day before to wait in line. And then when you got there, the electricity was out. So it was very frustrating. But now that it's electronic, e-government, you can get your driver's license all over the country at different locations.
Let's compare two countries. One, where the focus is on e-government, and second where there's no focus on e-government. Now, the benefits and the investment in both the countries. The country which has more focus on e-government, do you think that the country will have more economic prosperity? The people will be saving their time. The entrepreneurial activities will grow also. Economic activity will grow, and that will benefit in the long run to the government. More taxes will be collected in the place, the country where there's no concept of e-government. Everything is paper based. There may be more chances for corruption. There may be more chances for tax evasion and other things.
You're exactly right. The thing about if the decision was made to go to e-government, the steps to making that decision would be one of education of the top people of the importance of the electronic age. And that's a top-down decision that will affect the whole country. When you're a smart young guy and you're coming up with a software company, but you have to sleep overnight to get your driver's license, or wait in line, or everything's confusing and shuffling paper, it's very discouraging. And it doesn't make you feel like you're part of the new age. And it makes you feel like maybe I want to go to America or something. But when things here are made decision at the top to bring down, we're going to go to electronic age. Maybe Pakistan's going to announce in 5 years everything's electronic. It gives people some excitement that we're advancing and that these new services will make their life easier, because it does make it much easier for all the 20-some million people just in this city alone.
Actually, there's a common perception, and that is that the more you go for technology, the more you spend, and your income may not increase, but your expenses may increase. Is it true?
I think that the investment increases, obviously. It may cost $30 billion to put electronic driver's license in, but it's going to save costs in the long run. And that's like of anything. If you had a business and you decide to computerize it all or put new equipment in your restaurant, yes, the first day it's going to cost a lot of money. But you made that decision because over 20 years, it's going to be less expensive than hiring more people, training more people, and all the people and paper. People and paper is your biggest expense in those things.
Looking at the case of Pakistan, here, as far as cellular companies are concerned, the mobile phone services, out of 200 million of the total population, around 140 million people have access to mobile services, cellular services. So is it going to change the scenario in our country? What is your perception about it?
Well, there's no doubt about once everybody's connected, that's going to lead to, on the human level, better connections with everyone, but access to electronics. But if you have a $1,000 smartphone and you can't connect to anything in the government, that's really frustrating. The other thing is, I think transferring money, as what's happening in Africa now, they're jumping ahead of all the services that you might enjoy. They're not as interested in Netflix or movies online as they are in transferring money, because it's very difficult for small people to open a bank account. Well, now you can open your bank account on your phone and transfer money. And once that gets implemented here, that's going to really transform the way people do business. And it's going to help this new opportunity economy where you're looking to start a new business. People can pay you so much easier with paying from phone to phone.
There's some people who have reservations even today, the people who are well qualified, well educated. Yesterday there were news that Mark Zuckerberg's Instagram, LinkedIn and Twitter accounts have been hacked. So the person actually who founded Facebook, he himself is facing problems. There are lots of problems in the world also where such things, the data is being stolen also. So data security, though there are very good steps which are being taken, but even then data security is a problem. So what is the solution for that in the days to come, if any country likes to go for e-government solutions and things like that?
Well, that is true. Security is also always a top priority. But I think you can take comfort in looking at other countries that are ahead. So now in this case, I would look at the United States. I would look at Finland. I'd look at Norway. I'd look at the UK, Canada, Singapore, where a lot of things are online, and find out what did they do to combat that concept. What strategy did they take? In Africa, they have bulletproof security for mobile-to-mobile payments. And there's some way that they've encrypted everything so that everything's encrypted. And that's really the movement. In the UK, the Prime Minister said he's against encryption because he doesn't want to have people hide things, or the terrorists in the United States. They were worried about encryption. But encryption is the basis for security. And once you have encryption, then you can have all these new services. And there is encryption out there that absolutely, in the United States, all of us do banking online all the time.
Gregory, there are some countries where mobile banking has really been successful. When we talk about Kenya, Uganda, there are certain countries. But India could not benefit from mobile banking as such. Is it that the mindset, the population actually may not like the mobile banking, or is it the security concerns because of which in one country mobile banking services are very successful, in the other country it is not as successful as it should have been?
Well, I think that's changing in India. As you mentioned, I was just at a big trade show, and Reliance is a really big cell operator there. And they're actually promoting more and more about mobile payments. And once people get the hang of it, so you mentioned here in Pakistan that 50% or 100 and some million, about 50% of the population is less than 35. That's the people that they should be targeting with, the new adopters, the new younger people that are really going to just take to it automatically. It's hard to get my mother to do mobile banking, so maybe that's going to have to be two systems that coexist at the same time. But once a person tries mobile banking, there's nothing like it. I can sit here right now on my phone and send money to your phone in 3 minutes using a service in the United States. And once you get a taste of that, the wow moment comes.
In Pakistan, I agree with you. In Pakistan, actually, banking sector has invested much in technology. Fintech is something. If we just talk about the Asia Pacific, billions of American dollars are being spent, being invested for the technology in the financial institutions.
Right.
So is it something which you see in every part of the world in the days to come, whether we talk about African continent or Asian, where we talk about a country with the population rate is growing at very high rate, or the country where the population rate is very low, such as Japan or Germany or Central European countries?
It's going to happen everywhere. This trade show I was in Singapore, it was very, very clear. All this new technology, what we call new technology is really a new way of using the technology. Mobile payments have been around for 15 years, but there was concerns about security. The banks weren't interested. Some companies folded and went out of business, but now the old thing is now new again, and you won't be able to miss it. I'd say in the next few years, I'd be very surprised if mobile banking wasn't the top #1 use of an application on your phone.
And the government ministries, there are some countries where the ministers themselves are extremely interested in technology, whether it's education or health or whatever ministry we talk about. So in Pakistan, actually, as far as technology is concerned, we are not that much advanced, though the IT sector of Pakistan is growing at very high rate, undoubtedly, and our exports are also around 2.3 billion American dollars, and our IT sector thinks that it could be doubled. It could be more than 10 billion American dollars also if the government supports and if some incentives are given. So here in Pakistan, we see that there's growth in the use of technology, but as far as the ministries are concerned, the government system is concerned, that is something where we need to actually look at. And for that, what technology uses could help, how technology could help the ministries to be more effective, whether it's Pakistan or any other part of the world?
Well, the sad truth might be that we can't count on the government to do things. One great thing I think that would help in Pakistan is telemedicine, as they call it. Using technology to have a doctor in the city make an appointment with someone in a very, very rural to be interviewed online, and half the cases can be solved online like that, and the other half, it's like you need to come into the hospital. So where the person might think, well, I don't feel that bad, I think it'll go away, then they die because they weren't told to come in. So telemedicine, even in the United States, the large companies and insurance companies and hospitals are not using it very well, but private companies have sprung up and made a network of smaller clinics and had a private company handle the technology. So the doctors have historically in North America been very slow to adopt new technology. So the way we do that is, this is an opportunity for someone that's listening, start a company with telemedicine and then go to the doctor and have him sign up for $50 a month. Here's what you have to do. Here's the application. And then you go to another doctor, another clinic, another hospital, and so on. Then you go out into the population and you say, look, it's free to use this application, and you make your deal with your doctor. You can take a credit card or maybe a mobile payment or put money in his account. And it takes away the biggest problem of trying to find a medical professional, and you could use this for other professions too, when they're not in the same physical location. One day you're going to look back on it, it's going to seem very strange that you have to take off your job, somehow take the wife and children. Somehow they have to physically go to a doctor's office. They have to sit down and wait. The doctor sees them for 15 minutes and tells them, you know, it's not that serious. Here's a little medicine.
Pakistan's population is around 200 million, and around 60% of the total population lives in the rural areas. Though there is population shift, people are moving from rural areas to the cities. But even today, if 60% of the population is living in the rural areas, the far-flung areas, where there's no access at all, sometimes because of the weather conditions or because of the, of course, distance. So in that case, how could technology help the people living in those far-flung areas?
Well, they probably have less need for food delivery and driver's license renewals all the time and getting businesses started and even mobile payments perhaps. But they do have a need for healthcare. And telemedicine is one of the easiest things to adopt because the technology has already been invented. So you just have to localize it with a language and so on, and make a network of clinics, and then you can go out. That this business could go out into the rural areas. The rural areas still have clinics, but they're not staffed as well, and they might not have the specialties. And so then you connect those rural clinics to the hub, which is your telemedicine business, and then that hub connects to the doctors and specialists and so on.
Could you give examples of some companies which have really made extraordinary progress because of the use of technology?
In the United States?
In any part of the world.
Okay. Well, I don't know if it's here, but Uber is one of them. If you have, I don't know if you have Uber here, but there's a technology that the business is the technology. They don't own any cars, really. They don't really have any employees. All they have is that app, and it allows you to connect to me. When I drive, you can connect to me, and that's that hub. So I would think any business that you can think of where you create a connection hub with one technology, the technology connects the buyer with the seller, like Uber does. So that might be in delivery services. Technology has made a huge advances in all sorts of deliveries in the United States. I can order something at 6 o'clock in the afternoon and have it delivered by 2 o'clock tomorrow, overnight for free. And that's total technology.
Any example from Asia? Is Alibaba one of the cases which must be discussed, which is really kind of example for the others to follow?
Well, you're right about that. Alibaba doesn't own anything either. They don't own any warehouses. They don't own any toys. They don't own any chairs or nothing. And yet they sell lots of toys and lots of chairs. And they're an example of a technology hub. So the buyers go to the hub, the sellers go to the hub, they make their business, and the buyer ships to the seller.
Future of technology. What is your take on it? That is it really going to make this world not global village but global villa, and would the countries come closer? Would there be a kind of technology war instead of the economic war which we are talking about in the days to come, or would the countries have better relations because of better access through technology?
Well, I think humans want to have better relationships with each other. Unfortunately, the governments get in the way. So if I wanted to ship something from one country to another country, there's a big barrier, and that is there going to be import taxes? What about the shipping, and am I allowed to send this, and so on? So humans have a natural nature to get along with each other, but governments seem to get in the way. So I think the best thing we can do is encourage our governments to reduce the barriers and to adopt technology and allow technology to do its business.
Is it that because of the technology, we are not able to spend time, quality time with our family members also? We are busy all the time with our own self.
Well, see, I love technology, so I don't like when people blame it on the technology. But you can go to almost any mall and see people walking into the wall because they're texting. Or a family out to dinner, as you mentioned earlier. I bet you if they have teenagers, they're on their phone. So yeah, if you don't watch it, the very technology that was supposed to make our life better and make it easier actually allows us to work 24 hours a day and very easily get distracted and take away from family life. So that's something that parents are going to have to impose on their family. Phones down when you're with the family.
And actually, in order to bring about awareness about the usage of technology and the benefits of the technology, do you think that there should be more and more seminars, more conferences where the youngsters should be invited, even the people above 50 years of age in Pakistan? Though the population is very young, if you go in the markets, wherever you go, you'll just find young people all around in Pakistan. Even then, of course, the people who are 50 plus, do you think that there should be kind of very frequent seminars, conferences where these people should be invited and they should be told about the benefits of the technology, how technology can play a major role in terms of bringing about the bondage among the family members also?
Well, it's going to have to create value for those people that you want to attract. And I'm very much in favor of exactly what you said. I would like to see the government and the Chamber of Commerce and maybe Department of Technology, whatever, put these on. That might not happen, but there's another opportunity. So if I wanted to start a business like that, I would develop some seminars and courses and some seminars like that, conferences, and then I would try to get the tech companies to sponsor it so it wouldn't cost people very much. So maybe it would cost you $5 to come for a 4-hour seminar, and we would display technology, show you how to use it, and then we'd even promote that we can have little classes on how to texting. There's many people that are older, they don't text because they go, oh, I don't know how to text. And yet you get a 6-year-old and she's texting.
And Novako, thank you so much. It was really wonderful having you on the show.
Thank you for your question.
Well, नाज़रीन, अब तक के लिए इतना ही. अपने मेज़बान खलील अहमद और हमारी पूरी प्रोडक्शन टीम को इजाज़त दीजिए. अल्लाह हाफ़िज़.